Hey there. Let's be honest. With housing costs going up and up, just finding an affordable place to live can be a huge source of stress. Well, if you're looking for solutions, you've come to the right place. In this explainer, we're going to break down the 2026 Section 8 program, and it's a key resource that could really make a difference for you. So let's get started.
For millions of families, this isn't just a number on a chart. It's what they deal with every single month. When you see most of your paycheck go straight to the landlord, it leaves so little for everything else. Groceries, getting to work, or trying to save anything for the future. It's a financial pressure that's just always there. So when you're facing that challenge, what can you actually do? Thankfully, there are resources out there that are designed to help. And one of the most important ones is a federal program you've probably heard about, Section 8. Okay, let's start at the beginning. You'll almost always hear it called Section 8, but its official name is the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Understanding what that really means is the first step. So this is a program funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Its main job is to help people who qualify to afford safe housing. And here's the key part. It's for housing in the private market, not just government-owned projects. That gives people a lot more choice in where they get to live.
So here's the breakdown of how rent gets paid. It's pretty simple. You are typically responsible for paying about 30% of your adjusted monthly income straight to the landlord. Then the housing voucher pays for the rest, right up to a certain limit set by your local housing authority. That's the core benefit. It makes your rent predictable and affordable.
Of course, this leads to the next huge question. Who actually qualifies? So let's get into the eligibility requirements. This is the crucial part to figure out if this program is a good fit for you.
There are really four main requirements they look at. First, your income has to be below a certain level, usually 50% of the median income for your area. Second, you have to be a U.S. citizen or have an eligible immigration status. Third is passing a background screening. And finally, you can't have any outstanding debt with other housing authorities.
But here's the thing. Even if you're eligible, not everyone gets help at the same time. The demand for vouchers is really, really high, so the system uses priorities. So who gets to move to the front of the line? Typically, your local housing authority will give preference to certain groups. This often includes families that have children, seniors, people with disabilities, and folks who are currently homeless. Now, this is a really important takeaway. Those income limits are not the same across the country. They can change a lot depending on your county and how big your family is. The absolute most accurate place to get that information is always the website for your local public housing authority, or PHA. Okay, so if you think you might be eligible, what's the next move? Let's walk through the application process together. We've broken it down into 4 clear steps to guide you. The process follows a pretty clear path. First, you've got to find your local PHA. Second, and this is so important, you need to see if their waiting list is even open, because a lot of them close when they get too long. Third, fill out the application completely. And fourth, well, that's when the waiting period starts. For that third step, the application itself, being prepared is everything. You're generally going to need things like proof of income, a photo ID for all the adults, social security numbers for everyone in the household, your rental history, and other basic household info. Having all of that ready to go will make the whole thing much, much smoother. It's really important that we set some realistic expectations here. This quote highlights a tough reality of the program. The wait can be very, very long, and that's not meant to discourage you, but to prepare you for what's ahead. So with those long waits and all that demand, you might be asking, is there anything I can do to improve my chances? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Let's cover some pro tips that can make a real difference. Here are 4 smart things to do. First, see if the rules let you apply to more than one PHA. Second, always, and I mean always, keep your contact information up to date with them. If they can't reach you, you could lose your spot. Third, respond immediately if they ask for any documents. And finally, be ready to apply the very day a waiting list opens. So what happens when your name finally hits the top of that list? You'll get an invitation to a mandatory briefing session. That's where they'll explain all the program rules and your responsibilities. Once you finish that, you will officially receive your housing voucher. Once you have that voucher in your hand, a new clock starts ticking. You'll typically have somewhere between 60 and 120 days to find a rental unit that qualifies with a landlord who agrees to participate in the program. This deadline is critical, so you've got to be ready to move. Finally, let's talk about what not to do. It's tough to hear, but a simple mistake on the paperwork can sometimes get your application denied or even removed from the list. Knowing about these pitfalls can help you avoid them.
Here are some of the most common errors people make. Missing a deadline? That's a big one. Also, providing incomplete paperwork, especially with your income, can cause major delays. You have to report any changes to your family size or your income. And like we said before, never, ever ignore mail or email from the housing authority. So, if we boil all this down to just one key piece of advice, this is it. This whole process rewards people who are prepared and persistent. Applying as early as you possibly can and keeping all of your information perfectly organized are the two most powerful things you can do to improve your odds of success. We've covered what the program is, who qualifies for it, and how you can apply. Now, all this information is in your hands, so the last question is really for you to answer. If high housing costs are a challenge for you, is visiting your local PHA's website your most practical next step?